Want to get started, Terrence? Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can go ahead and get going. Good morning. I'm Terrence Patterson, and this is the October 21st, 2020 meeting of the Rules and Policy Committee of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. We're conducting this meeting virtually via web conference, and this meeting includes a public dial-in option that is available on the Charter Commission's website. Chanel, would you please reference the circumstances behind the virtual meeting and the relevant TCA section?
Good morning, Rules and Policy Committee. Given the current COVID-19 pandemic and concerns for public safety and welfare, as well as the pandemic's impact on the Commission's budget, this committee meeting is being conducted by electronic means. This is provided by TCA 844-108 and Governor Lee's Executive Order 60. This meeting is being recorded and will be available after the conclusion, and it'll be on the Commission's website. And as you said, a call-in number was provided on the website as well to allow the public to participate today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chanel. And as a reminder, all votes of the committee are conducted via taking a roll call. So please identify yourself prior to speaking, making a motion, or voting. Judy, will you please do a roll call for us?
I will. Commissioner Hanson.
Present.
Commissioner Tucker. Commissioner Tucker.
Here.
And Chairman Patterson.
Here.
Here.
3 of 3 are present. We have a quorum.
Great. So today's agenda includes a review of several of our Charter Commission policies regarding meetings and also the Commission's responsibility as an authorizer. Are there any comments about the agenda?
Can you see the agenda on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we can say. Thank you for posting that. If there are no comments, then is there a motion to approve?
This is Wendy Tucker. I move that we approve the agenda.
Dave Hanson, second.
Okay, great. Judy, could you please take a roll call for us?
Yes. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker.
Aye.
Chairman Patterson.
Aye.
3 of 3, the agenda is approved.
Great. All right, let's move to approval of our minutes from the prior meeting held on July 1st, 2020, which seems so long ago. May I have a motion to approve those minutes? And I guess before, if you guys don't mind just taking a look, if you haven't had a chance to look at those minutes prior to the meeting, I'll give you a minute or two to do so.
I read the meeting minutes before, and I think Wendy actually memorized them, so I would be comfortable motioning to approve those minutes.
Great. Thank you.
I only memorized part of them, working on it, so I will second that motion.
Great. Judy, who call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Hanson.
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker. Commissioner Tucker.
Sorry. Aye. Sorry, had to unmute. Aye.
Chairman Patterson.
Aye.
3 of 3, the minutes are approved.
All right, great. We are rolling. We're 1 minute ahead of schedule. So first, let's look at the first agenda item, which is proposed changes to policy 1.200, commission meetings. And I'd like to call on our new executive director, Tess Stovall, to discuss this item. Tess?
Great, thank you. And Judy's pulling up the proposed changes so that we can look at them on the WebEx as well.
Can you see them?
Yes, I can see them, Judy.
Yes, and I can see them also, Judy. Thank you.
So the first change that is being proposed to the committee is there was conversation about needing to specify under 1A if the meetings would be set year or by calendar year. So in conversations with Chanel Tyler, the proposed change in front of you today is to insert the word calendar in the second sentence. So it reads, the 4 required meeting dates along with any additional meeting dates shall be set by October 15th of the preceding calendar year. As I think we had previously discussed on a business operations committee meeting, I think most people, when thinking about setting, not in the state government world, think of setting dates by a calendar year. And I think if we were to think about it from a public perspective, I think it makes the most sense to set them by a calendar year. I also think the fact that we have established an October 15th date of notification, that is basically leading us into setting them by the calendar year. Chanel, since you made these updates, anything else you'd like to add here?
No, Tess, I think you've covered it. So yes, this policy is just modeled after the statutory requirement that you all set at least 4 quarterly meetings. And so I definitely think that tracks to set them the preceding calendar year. It just keeps everything consistent and streamlined.
So any questions on this proposed change?
Tess, this is Judy Spencer. I was just wondering if, as long as we're adding calendar year in the second sentence, should we be sure it's clear in the first sentence as well?
I defer to Chanel's thoughts here of if we have it in the second sentence, is it clear, or do we need to say by calendar year in the first?
Yeah, I think, that's probably something that the committee, if you all think that further clarification would help. Like I said, the statute directs you all to meet at least 4 times, at least quarterly. So if you think that maybe inserting calendar year in the first sentence also helps, we can add that before we we present these to the commission.
I'm just aware that from the Business Operations Committee meeting, there was a question about the 4 regular meetings per year meant per calendar year or per fiscal year. So if we're going ahead and inserting calendar year in the second sentence, it would seem that, just for clarity's sake, it would be smart to put it in the first as well.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about it, we do have in our policy a notation for what our fiscal year is, right, Chanel? I'm pretty sure we have it in, and if we do, then I guess this would make reference to that fiscal year.
Are you referring to the meetings policy, or are you referring to another policy?
I was just referring to the commission's kind of overarching policies that sort of govern what our fiscal year is.
Yeah, I would have to take a look to see if we've defined it anywhere in our policy. I don't quite recall it offhand. Tess, do you recall whether or not, I know that you're kind of stepping in this role, but I don't know if you recall also having something.
I don't recall off the top of my head where it is, but we can certainly look to see. Yeah. But I mean, if it's the will of the committee to insert calendar year in the first sentence, happy to do that before it gets sent to the full commission.
Okay. I mean, I think we're probably okay making that friendly addition. Right. I don't know, Dave or Wendy, do you guys have a strong feeling one way or the other on it?
I mean, my only question is whether that limits, if we have a situation where we need to get a 4th meeting in and it's not in the calendar year, or it's not easy to do in the calendar year, but it can fit in the fiscal year. I don't know how that would happen, but it feels like you have a little more flexibility if it's not specified, but I don't know that would ever happen anyway. so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, my inclination is the same thing, Wendy, was rely on the fiscal year. And so not lock us into calendar year like that if there were something to come up.
Okay, so am I hearing that for now, let's keep it silent, and then if it becomes an issue that we can come back and address?
Yes, that would be my inclination based on this discussion.
Commissioner Tucker and Hanson?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Great, thank you for that
Thanks.
discussion. The other thing that I wanted to flag for the committee, just for an open up of discussion, and Judy, if you could scroll down to section 7A. One of the things that I know that you all as a commission had a robust discussion about at your February organizing session was around public comment and dedicated time for public comment at your regular meeting. So just as a note, this provision wouldn't necessarily apply to a special called meeting, although certainly the commission and the chair could have public comment at a special call meeting. I think the reality is that a special call meeting may be necessary in the future, depending on the timeline that we receive charter school appeals, and if it's not fitting into our quarterly meetings. Up to this point, we, from a commission standpoint, have not had anyone sign up for public comment. I also recognize that the commission has yet to take on its robust responsibilities around charter school appeals and around authorization. So certainly my anticipation is, based on my experience at the state board, that when the charter commission starts hearing appeals, I think there's a strong possibility that 30 minutes may not be enough, and that we may be looking to the chair to extend some of that time. But since we are looking at this policy now, I wanted to just revisit this conversation with the committee to see how you all feel about this section of both related to public comment, and if there's any edits that you would like to make at this time before we bring it to the full commission.
Yeah, this is Terrence Patterson. I mean, I feel really strongly that the at least 30 minutes should remain, precisely to your point, Tess, that we are going to encounter moments, I think, where 30 minutes may not be enough. And so it does not feel kind of in the public's interest, especially in the vein of transparency, to shrink that time any less than 30 minutes. So I would feel really strongly about keeping it at the current language and giving us flexibility to actually have more time in the event that we have a demand for more public comment on issues that we may face into the future.
This is Wendy. Yeah, I agree. Terrence, and Tess knows that when I was on the state board, I was a big proponent of public comment and having regular public comment. My question actually is, Tess, you mentioned this only applies to regular meetings, and my concern is that the special called meetings are usually the ones that have more public attention because they're things that are, like emergent. So is there a way to extend this past just regular meetings?
I defer to Chanel here on the change. I think because I agree, Wendy, I think the reality is, if I'm thinking about appeals that may require a special called meeting, I think it's revocation appeals may be the highest likelihood, simply because those can happen at any time and they have a very prescriptive timeline. So it may be that it's going to fall outside of the quarterly meetings. That being one where I think certainly the commission may have a lot of public comment. So I think, Chanel, if you are comfortable with this, then maybe we put in a change that says regular and special called meetings of the commission.
Or can we just say meetings? I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, that is a good point. And I'll say we also opened up public comment even when you all were having special, called meetings throughout this year. So that would be consistent with what we've already been doing as well, just allowing people to have that opportunity. So we can just go ahead and if you all feel comfortable, that might be a change that we can make to just get rid of the regular meetings and just have meetings there.
Do we need a motion for that, or is that just something we could do before we bring it back to? Because I'm going to make a motion here if I need to.
We'll make a motion to approve this policy as amended, and with that additional change.
Okay.
Right. And
The
I
only
guess.
go ahead.
Go
The
ahead.
only other thing I wanted to add is that one of the things I've been communicating with the commission chair about is that I think we do have some flexibility about where we put public comment in the agenda for the commission meeting. So for example, if there's not an appeal on the agenda, maybe public comment is later in the meeting. But if there are appeals in the meeting, then I think certainly we would want that public comment to happen earlier in the meeting, so before you all vote. And so, I think as we kind of get more into the rhythm of things and see how, kind of the work actually rolls out, there's an opportunity for us to think about where does that public comment lie. I also think that there's an opportunity as we get rolling for us to share this opportunity to provide public comment in a more transparent kind of casting in a wider net, such that we could have an opportunity for individuals to know about this time with the commission, be able to sign up in advance, such that we could utilize this public comment in a more fruitful way.
Yeah, we do currently require sign up in advance for the regular commission meetings if somebody wants to make a public comment.
Great. And this is Terrence Patterson. I think another piece of this, and Tess, you alluded to it, is there's obviously the sort of formal way that we make sure that we introduce and welcome public comment. But I do think as a commission, we should think about how we reach out to people a bit more proactively and make sure that they know that our meetings are coming, and we're sort of meeting people where they are in their particular communities with our communication. So we're not just doing the mandatory public posting of it, but we are putting it in channels that are sort of more readily available and familiar with people, so that we can increase the amount of public comment that we do get. Tess, did you have anything else you wanted to add to the discussion around policy 1.200?
I have nothing further.
Okay, great. Well, what I heard was adding language around special meetings in the first sentence of section 7A. So it would read, regular and special meetings of the commission shall provide at least 30 minutes. And otherwise, all of the other language would remain as presented. Judy, is that what you and Tess heard as well?
Yes, an alternative would just be to say all meetings of the commission shall provide that. It doesn't really matter how you want the verbiage to read.
Chanel, strong sort of legal preference from us. I'm fine with the extra words of regular and special.
This is Dave. I guess I had a question, like, if we ever did like a closed session or something else that was not a special or called meeting, would that like fall into the, if we took out the words and just made it all meetings?
You know, Dave, it's funny. I had the same thought. Would there ever be a time where we may need a meeting that would have sensitive information that, you know, may or may not be appropriate for public comment? But yeah, I mean, that is a possibility.
I'm not on video, but I'm imagining Wendy and Chanel are both like rolling their eyes that Dave is not a lawyer, but he's pretending to be one on TV.
No, I have a good point. I don't know. I mean, those would be like, I don't know if they'd be called meetings. Those are more, I can't remember the name of it. Chanel, you can say when we get legal advice, but I think it's smart to specify exactly what we're talking about. It doesn't hurt. So Dave, you should have been a lawyer.
Yeah, I think for our purposes today, we should. I would recommend the motion have the change regular and special meetings. So I guess with that, may I have a motion to approve the changes to policy 1.200, including language to 7A stating regular and special meetings of the commission shall provide at least 30 minutes, and recommend approval to the full commission at its October 28th meeting. Is there a motion and second for that?
Happy to make the motion. This is Wendy.
Dave Hansen, second.
Judy, will you make the
Yes.
call vote?
Commissioner Hanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker,
Aye.
Chairman Patterson.
Aye.
3 of 3, the motion passes.
Great. Thank you. Let's move to the next item on our agenda, and that is the authorizer policies. And this item is a continuation of the ongoing review of our authorizer policies in anticipation of the commission's role as an authorizer beginning in 2021. So Tess, could you discuss these policies and any relevant changes for the committee?
Sure. And Judy, if you wouldn't mind while I start talking, can you put up the agenda just so you can see the what I'm referring to? So as the chair mentioned, these policies are continuing the process of moving and establishing the charter commission policies necessary for both the commission's work as an appellate body as well as its work as an authorizer. Between first and final reading, there have been minimal changes to these policies. So I want to flag those changes for you all now, as well as I will just walk through at a high level kind of the highlights of each of the policies, just so you know kind of what you're voting on. So policy 2.4, this is the policy that's going to handle both renewal appeals and renewal applications when the commission is an authorizer. Thinking forward ahead, I think the likelihood of the commission getting renewal appeals in the spring is very high based on what districts are doing. So this is a policy that we're going to be putting to work pretty quickly. Policy 2.5 is around the revocation of charter schools when the commission is an authorizer. So the commission has a separate policy to handle revocation appeals. There is one proposed change here. In the title of 2.5, we had referenced appeals in this, but the reality is this is a policy that's really focused in on commission authorized schools. So in order to eliminate confusion, the word appeals has been removed from the title. Policy 4.2 really sets out the core authorizing principles, kind of when you're thinking about the commission as an authorizer, here's what we stand for. These are aligned to both the state's quality authorizing standards and also national best practices. Policy 4.3 governs the commission's charter agreements with its authorized charter schools. So really stating out what will be in those charter agreements, how we will be holding ourselves accountable, as well as holding our charter schools accountable. And as a kind of future telling for the work of the commission, Chanel and I are starting to work on charter agreements with newly authorized charter schools that are going to be under the commission. So we are going to be presenting in the next couple of months new charter agreements for the commission to discuss. Policy 4.4 is about oversight and monitoring. So really talking about how is the commission and its staff going to be monitoring and providing oversight to its charter schools. Inclusive in here is the requirements around a site visit and what we're expecting around reporting to the commission. Policy 4.5 is really setting out the commission's philosophy on charter school autonomy. This is autonomy that is baked into statute, but I think it's really important that the commission has a policy that really says, this is what we are affording to you as a charter school in terms of your autonomy and how we as a staff and as a commission are going to be protecting that autonomy. 4.6 is charter school intervention. So this is the intervention policy, and this is the framework that the commission and the commission staff will use with regard to any sort of corrective action. I will also note that policy 4.6 is referenced in the charter agreement. So one of the things that you will see when you at some point look at those charter agreements is that we are going to say, we're going to hold you responsible, and we're going to do that via policy 4.6, such that we don't have to necessarily repeat everything that's in policy 4.6 in the charter agreement. One change that Chanel and I made in presentation of these policies is to move the charter school performance framework and to actually give it a numeric policy number. Previously, it had not been assigned a policy number. I will say this is the case for the state board as well. And to a certain extent, it was a little bit kind of on its island by itself. And the fact that I think it's important for the commission to say, this is a policy, we are giving it a policy number. So that's policy 4.7. There have been no changes in first and final reading on the performance framework. And the last policy is policy 4.8. It is a policy around if an LEA would like to sponsor a charter school, that is an ability in statute to do that. And so we want to make sure that we have a policy that governs that. From a more holistic perspective, I'm also wanted to flag that, number one, I think once the commission gets its full staff on board, both in terms of general counsel and its authorizing staff, that we'll take another deep dive into all of these policies as we start working them. And we'll certainly be coming to you all with updates and changes as it relates to things that we need to tweak in the policies. And then secondly, we will be instituting a regular policy audit where at least every year or every other year, we are going to be going through all of the commission's policies to ensure that they're aligned to current best practice, they're aligned to current statute, and so that we are regularly revisiting these policies, even ones that we may not use all of that often. And with that, I am happy to take any questions from the commission.
This is Wendy. I have a question. I should know this already, and I'm sorry, COVID has caused my mind to forget times. Do we take over the state board schools this January?
No, so we take over them in July 1 of 2021.
Okay.
And
right,
I will
you.
also, again, for foreshadowing work coming to the committee, Chanel and I are working together on the LEA policies, and I'm just warning the whole committee, those are a lot. We decided not to do them this meeting. We're going to save them for December. But to your point, Wendy, we have a little bit of a longer on-ramp to get those LEA policies in place.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually thinking, and you and I have had this conversation related to the commission, whether policies need to be reflecting, like the monitoring, everything need to be reflecting COVID changes and like how you're dealing with stuff under COVID. But hopefully if we're not taking over schools until July, that's not really a situation, but who knows?
This is Terrence Patterson. Thanks, Tess, for giving us that overview. And I guess as a reminder to this body, we have been reviewing these and working on these over the course of the year. And so there have been changes since the first reading that Tess did highlight. So this is not our first look. There's nothing new that is being presented to us today. So I just wanted to make that reminder. Any other comment? Okay, well, Hearing none, is there a motion to approve these authorizer policies and recommend approval to our full commission at our October 28th meeting?
This is Wendy. I'm happy to make that motion. So moved.
Dave Hansen, second.
Great. Judy, will you call the vote?
Yep. Commissioner Hanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker,
Aye.
Chairman Patterson.
Aye.
3 of 3, the motion passes.
Great. Well, thank you, Tess, and thanks, Chanel, for working on these policies. And this is a heavy lift, so I am actually shaking a little bit that you are going to bring something more than this for the next round as we prepare for July. But I know we'll be prepared and are looking forward to further review. And as we talk about in all of our meetings, making sure that while we're obviously honing the existing policy that the state board is using, we also want to continue to use our model as being best in class around the country as we think about serving the children across the state of Tennessee. So thank you guys for putting in such work as we focus on that North Star. And thank you, Wendy and Dave. I know you guys have memorized all of those policies. So thank you for your hard work and review. And Wendy, your expertise having served on the state board. So thank you. I really appreciative of that. And Tess, you and your burgeoning staff as you're getting underway for working on these important matters for us. So at this time, I'll recognize any committee members for any closing remarks.
I just want to reiterate the thank you on the hard work on these policies. I know, and I'm looking forward to those LEA policies, but I know this is a lot of work, and I know, Tess, you created that airplane on the front end, but you and Chanel having to go through it, and in some ways they can be complicated to have to go through and figure out how these policies apply in a new situation. But regardless, it's a big lift, and I appreciate it on behalf of the students who are going to benefit from this. So thank you.
Great. Well, I don't know how we're doing on our average meeting time. I think it may have gone up slightly. We're at about 32 minutes. So without further ado, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Dave Hansen, second.
Okay.
Great. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hanson,
Aye.
Commissioner Tucker,
Aye.
Chairman Patterson.
Aye.
3 of 3, we are adjourned.
Okay, great. Thank you all. And I will see you all in our full meeting.
Next week.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody be safe.
All right.